Hey everybody, Darlene here at Petal Academy. Good morning. It is January 20th. We are going to do a quick Q&A. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit shorter than our last one, so hopefully about half an hour, 45 minutes. I just want to go through a few juicy nuggets that you can hopefully take away and hopefully will reflect better success with your Valentine's holiday, which is upcoming. I know it's really, Valentine's gets a bad rap because a lot of times I think that we look at it and go, okay, we've got extra expenses coming in from our wholesalers. We need to bring in extra staff, and it can be a really daunting holiday. It's cold. If you're in Canada, the weather's not great. So there's a lot of challenges that come with it. So let's go over a few tips that'll help you sort of navigate through it. A little bit of back end story. If you're the first time tuning in to our company and what we do, I had a retail shop. I've been in the industry for about 35 years. Had a retail shop for about 15 and sold it in 2021. And then we sort of transitioned into online education. And now we ship the contents right to participants' doorsteps and lead them through floral design. And beyond that, my big goal is to create an environment where everyone can come to us at Petal Academy and get education and information. And of course, we welcome florists as well, because heaven knows I've made most of the mistakes that I think is probably humanly possible in the floral industry. And I want to save you from those mistakes and set you up for success. So I've been there, done that, and I want to share what I've learned with you. So welcome. So one of the big things that can be a little daunting with the holiday is if you've never done this before. So a lot of the people that we welcome into our coaching program are sort of into year 1 through 5 being in the industry, and that being fairly new, it can be a little overwhelming. So where do you start? If you've bought an existing store, one of the things that we can recommend is look historically at what the sales were doing on that specific holiday. Better yet, look at the week. Usually Valentine's Day, even though the volume is generated a lot on that specific day, you will notice usually about 2 or 3 days before, you're going to get some people that are a little bit organized and thinking ahead of the holiday. And then you're going to get a few of the aftermath, which is people that are forgotten or people that had to delay for whatever reason. So always look at the entire week to give you a good number on your sales. What you want to do with that is sort of position yourself to be for your buying so that you're at about a 30% margin. So that means we're going to take about 30% of that gross number. Make sure that's your net number before your taxes and everything. Make sure you're dealing with your true number there. So taxes should be a wash. Look at those exact sales, what were brought in. Then you want to study those sales. If you're lucky enough to have a POS that you can sort of dive into, that'll give you some actual analytics on what was bought. That's a really good indication of where your buying should go. So if you're totally new into this industry, you're going to want to look at how many roses did we sell versus other types of flowers. And just to give you a little bit of industry position there, usually you have about 47% of roses that are usually sold, and about 20, so about 60 or 50% roses, and about 50% is usually other types of flowers, or they usually say about 29%, but that's, and then there's, all your add-ons that go with that. So kind of position yourself to think in that framework when you're ordering. Now, a lot of us, this is a little bit late in the game if we're thinking about ordering flowers right now, because it's January the 20th. And oftentimes you'll have your wholesalers reaching out well in advance, oftentimes before the holidays, the winter holidays, so Christmas and New Year's and all that. Usually they want those orders in well in advance to secure what you're going to buy. So hopefully you've got a little bit of something locked in at this point, but if you don't despair. There are wholesalers you can call, you can reach out to. There's auctions as well. So look for those opportunities. Auctions, usually you're going to want to sort of book your product a couple weeks out. So that'll be probably next week. And then you're going to want to work with any wholesalers that might have product that was returned, or a florist decided not to take it. Now, another thing you want to look at when you're looking at setting yourself up for what to buy or how much volume to buy is what day of the week Valentine's is falling on. So this year it's falling on a Friday. Historically, florists always did about 10% higher during the weekdays. And I won't even say the midweek days. So we're looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are typically the highest volume for florists. Mondays as well. You could throw Mondays in there. And you're going to usually see about a 10% increase. Why is that? Because you're not fighting with a lot of other activities that might go on during Valentine's. So if it falls on a weekend, which it is typically this week, it's falling on a Friday. So we're going to throw that into the weekend lot there. You're competing with restaurants, you're competing with events, you're competing with shows or going away for the weekend or anything like that that might sort of be an option. A lot of times during the week, those core weekdays, it's hard for people to get out of town. It's hard for people to look at getting away for a couple of days. So typically flowers are a good option to show someone that, hey, I remembered Valentine's Day, right? So that's why we always see those increases in the middle of the week. So that's something to think about as well. So this year, we're working with that Friday holiday. So we know that, that's going to be a little bit more of a situation where maybe we're going to sort of soften our numbers. So in that aspect, you could look at your numbers and go, if I want to play it safe, maybe I'm just going to get about 10% less than I booked last year, or when it was on a Wednesday or whatever, just so that you can sort of navigate a little bit better. Now, one thing I'm going to say to you for sure is one of the reasons why I think a lot of us feel overwhelmed is we're always afraid on the volume to buy versus what we think we can actually sell. So always, 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 if you want to set yourself up for just like success mentally, play it safe. Go a little bit on the safe aspect of this. And you're going to be able to do that by just softening your numbers a little bit and also being able to kind of figure out, if I sell out, I'm in a better position than if I have leftovers. And let's talk about leftovers. Leftovers are expensive. Leftovers are probably, you are going to sell a few on those aftermath days, like I said, but each bloom that you're selling is expensive. So make sure, I always go for the sold out event. Why? Mentally, it makes me feel great about the holiday. And it's great to sort of set yourself up for a little bit of scarcity. What that also does for your clients is if they are left empty-handed, or if you're unable to help them with their first choice this year, they're going to act in advance next year. And one great thing to do to if for anyone that didn't plan ahead and is coming in at those last moments, and maybe you've run out of long stem red roses, set them up for success next year. Grab their email, give them options that are going to fulfill their need, even though they're late in the game, and give them clarity on what's required on your end so that they can get best served by you. That's something that you should be doing on a regular basis. But at Valentine's Day, it's a great way to set yourself up. So look at your notes from last year. Knowing it's a Friday, you might want to soften your numbers just a little bit and make sure you've got lots of options. So just besides the red roses, like we were saying, a lot of folks are going to go with those red roses, 47%, but there's other options, mixed bouquets, including roses, hand-tied bouquets, arrangements. You can add on chocolates, things like that. You want to build out offer variety to your clients so that they're not stuck with that sort of really narrow-minded dozen roses kind of thing, right? Give them some options and be willing to communicate those options. And you should be doing that now on your social media. Other things that you want to think about when you're thinking about just those flower sales, what can you do to strategize to build out on that as well? Are there options where you could maybe offer a workshop, a date night workshop, a Valentine's workshop? Could those be done the weekend before? Could those be done during the week before? Could they be done after the event on the weekend? Could you transition this to have some offerings on that weekend as well? And here in Canada, we have Family Day weekend, which falls usually right around that Valentine's Day weekend. So is there a way to do a fun family event or a date night event that is going to fall on that Family Day weekend that you could kind of maybe work with a local restaurant or do something that sort of gives you the opportunity to get more income? Could you set up a subscription program for Valentine's Day or offer that to some of the folks coming in? Maybe that's an option. Maybe they're coming in and you've got the red roses set up for Valentine's. Maybe you could do something where they're getting a couple more deliveries through the winter months. That is sort of like, the evolution of love or something like that, given a fun name. Would you like to sign up for this Everlasting Love program? It's a subscription program and you're going to get this bouquet today. And then we're going to give bi-weekly flowers as a subscription delivered to your home so that it extends it. So think of ways that you can think outside the box with your offerings. That's a great way to sort of up your marketing and start talking about that now on your social media. Other things you want to think about, of course, is so once you've lined up your product, so you're talking to your vendors, getting those booked prices in. When you're booking volume, don't be afraid to call to see what's out there, to see what your options are. Don't be afraid to negotiate prices. You know, if they've got booked prices, if they've got leftovers that haven't been moving, what's the best price you can offer me on this type of rose, right? Also, do a little bit of research on what kind of roses you want to offer. What are your favorite red rose varieties? These are all things that you should be researching well in advance. So yes, we're a little bit late in the game, but it's not too late to think about this for next year or even strategize for it even right now. When you're looking at types of roses that are your favorite that you want to offer to your clients, maybe you've got a favorite one, like I think one is Red Paris. You want to talk about that. Maybe you want to advertise that on your social media, give it a name so people know what to offer. Also, when you're doing your buying, know exactly how many you're bringing in. Okay, this is something that I learned really that was really effective is if I brought in, 400 roses or whatever, I had a smaller shop. So if you're bringing in 400 roses in the 400 red roses, how many dozen can I get from that lot? And what am I doing with some of the others? So, with a bunch of 25 roses, you've always got one extra one in there. So those could be, are you offering single roses? Are you offering the single rose with chocolates or something that goes with it, or a gift certificate for your store? Are you putting together half dozen roses? Make sure you can multiply out exactly your volume that you're going to be able to offer and keep a running tab of that. Keep your inventory if you've got the possibility to keep it in your POS system so you know exactly how many dozens you are selling. If your marketing is really great and you're hitting the sales in advance and pre-sales are going well, you're going to be able to say, hey, what I've already booked looks like it's already spoken for. And true story, I used to get to the fact where we would be almost sold out of red roses before we even opened the door on Valentine's Day. So that's a great spot. And then you have the option. Do I want to bring in some more to have for my cash and carry? Or do I want to just sort of ride it out and sell whatever else I've brought in for the grab and goes, right? Like you want to be able to set yourself up for success so you're not disappointing the walk-in clients, but you also want to ensure that you've got money in the bank and that what you've invested in is already sold. So it's a fine line, but once you sort of set yourself up for that whole, I'd rather be sold out than have extra, you're going to get yourself into a really good place there. Staff is a big one. Staff is something that can be very overwhelming. So if you have a small store, and believe I had a small store, our store was in a village of like 7,000 people. There wasn't a lot of people, walk-in traffic and that sort of thing, not high volumes like you are going to find in the city. So one of the things you want to do is understand what your walk-in flow is going to be like. And again, if you're lucky enough to have that POS system lined up where it has all those analytics, you're going to see where your high points of timing was with your sales. Did they come in right first thing in the morning? Are they coming in a flow steady all through the day? Are they coming in, after work? Those peak times are when you're going to want to set yourself up to make sure you've got staff that are ready, able, and knowledgeable to serve your clients. That's a really big one. So we may have to bring in some extra part-time help. Are they capable and able and willing and knowledgeable in all the areas of what we want to sell, how we're selling it, and how to handle our customers? So oftentimes what we would do when we were running the shop is you've got your pre-sales, you've got your orders, you've already got everything aligned so you know what you have available for cash and carry. I would set myself up to have grab and go roses ready in the shop so that those last minute walk-in clients can be served efficiently and effectively. So that means I've got hand-tied bouquets of roses ready to go. I also had bunches that were gathered in the back cooler so that I had grouped all of my dozens. And then as the front ones would sell, we'd have an inventory level out there of, anywhere from like maybe 6 to 20 bunches ready to go. And then once those depleted, we'd have the designers do those hand ties and get them out in the front of the house so that they're ready to be sold when the clients walk in. Sometimes in cold weather and in situations, we'd even have them wrapped and ready to go. Because let's be honest, a guy coming in at the end of the day, at a work day, how are you going to serve him best, right? He's walking in, he's already had a long day of work, or anyone buying flowers, long day at work. How are we going to serve them? We want to have something ready to go, something that looks beautiful, and something that is fast and quick and good quality, right? So if you've got all those things aligned, and take that guy to the next to the next evolution of sales, and welcome him in. How can I serve you? Is this, how can I make some suggestions here? Would something like this be, and then get that guy sold, sales locked down, and out the door, back to where he needs to deliver those flowers. So efficiency is a great thing to sort of tackle at this time of the year. You want to make sure that you've got your staff set up for success that way. You don't want to have it where, the people are coming in and you're like, well, you should have pre-ordered that, and it's going to be about 20 minutes for us to do something like that for you, because it's just disappointing. It's inefficient, and it doesn't give rave results as far as how we served our clients. We know they're coming in. We know they're going to be there. We know that they want to come in and go out quickly. So how can we best set up for that? Anticipate what your clients' needs are and set yourself up for success. Other things that they may not have thought about: cards, chocolates, anything like that that you could add on that is ready to go by your till. So if they are waiting while you're wrapping that up, or bundling up those flowers, they've got options of some things that they can add on to their purchase as well. Make it easy for them. Have suggestions. Bundle things. Group them in bundles. If you're going with this bouquet, we suggest this bottle of sparkling water, and we suggest this bag of chocolates, or whatever, anything like that. Put it together. Or we've got these candles that we're suggesting that are going with these chocolates and these flowers. Anything like that that you're looking to move in retail, have it ready to go, and have it bundled, and have it set up so that you've got direct highlights of the things that you want to best promote in your store that look gorgeous. That's an easy no-brainer for somebody to say, I want that. That looks fantastic. While we're talking about that, don't minimize your offerings. Okay. Like, I looked at some feeds a couple weeks ago, and I was looking at some of the offerings, and there was some bouquets for $1,500 on there. And I was like, way to go, right? With these florists. Why are we, or sometimes we can get in a mindset that, okay, we're just going to worry about how much we're charging for the dozen roses. At the end of the day, when you've got a client that likes to work with you, that knows your work, or that maybe they're even trying you for the first time, your shop looks impressive, impress them. What could you offer? Make sure they can see it. Make sure that it's online and that it's represented in your shop as well. If you want to create an environment where you're offering luxury types of arrangements, make sure you've got luxury right at their touch points there, right? Make sure they can see it. Make sure that it's grab and go ready. Make sure that, instead of just offering little $50 arrangements or $50 hand ties, we're offering $350 arrangements or $500 arrangements, right? Put a few of those together. Make sure, if you're sort of just evolving into that level of client, make sure that you're putting that out there on your social media and also on your website so that it's easy and clickable, right? A lot of times, there's another breakdown. What kind of customers are we dealing with on Valentine's Day? Typically, it's about 62% men, but there's also probably about 30% women that are shopping on that day, right? They're shopping for their moms, they're shopping for their daughters. Some of these men are shopping for their daughters. You might want to think about grandparents, friends, Valentine's Day, right? So evolve some of your offerings to beyond what the typical buyer is looking for, so that it can encompass all of those things, right? Really important. But make sure your staff knows all about those. That's really what I'm saying. So make sure your staff's knowledgeable. Always have meetings with your staff, right? So sometimes when we have a smaller shop or we're setting ourselves up for a bit busy holiday, some of the regular jobs that some of our staff do are going to have to be they're going to have to transition into another position. Make sure that they're trained and that they know what your expectations are, right? If we've got some part-time staff that comes in and helps us process our flowers, make sure that they know, hey, you're going to be doing, we want you to hop onto the sales counter every once in a while, or we want you to help wrap some of these arrangements that are coming in. Make sure that they know how to efficiently do that. And restocking, making sure everyone knows how to restock items or where the items can be found if stocks run low. That's another great one, because, you know, as the owner or as the head manager or head designer of the shop, you don't want to be running around giving directions on the day of. You want to make sure that everyone knows where everything is, where those delivery boxes are, where those extra cello rolls are, where the wrap is, where the tissue is, where the floral food is. These are things that go down quickly in stock when you're doing those high volumes. And you could be serving, you know, if you've got it set up so you've got cash and carry ready to go and you're wrapping and out the door, your client's in there maybe a maximum of 5 minutes. So you can see and anticipate the volume of sales that are going to be going through your till. So make sure you're set up for that. Make sure everybody knows where everything is. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the customer service, the traffic. Make sure your staff knows. When you're dealing with Valentine's too, and this is what I would find, a lot of my clients, you have the opportunity to impress and to perhaps be even a first time purchase, right? So oftentimes it's a great way to make a great impression. So set your store up for fun, for success. So oftentimes, you know, if you know you're dealing with a lot of clients that are coming in, they're going to feel like, I'm paying a lot more than I normally would for these flowers. So how can you make this a really great experience for them? So a lot of times what we would do with our shop is we would put music outside. We would even throw rose petals down on the walkway. I liked to play like oldies tunes. I thought it was really fun. So I often had like playlists. You could even have a QR code so they could scan it and take that playlist home as a romantic fun thing to offer to their significant other. I think that's a great thing. So that could be fantastic, a really fun thing to add in there that's free that you could add. Have the music kind of nice and voluminous so that it creates really good ambience. Have some candles set up and maybe even boxes of rose petals. Those are great things to add on as well, and have them all ready to go. When the client walks into the store, say, thanks for coming in. How can we best serve you today? Are you looking for suggestions? Because I can offer blah, blah, and blah. These are ready to go. Are you looking to customize something? Can we take something like this and customize it for you by adding this and this and this, right? Other things you want to communicate is delivery. So that's where expectations of clients, and you can have huge issues, especially on Valentine's Day, is communication clearly of your delivery service. So first of all, talking about deliveries, make sure that you, and this will kind of loop back into our customer service thing here a little bit, but make sure you're communicating with your delivery logistics team about volumes on that day. Can they handle them? What can they handle? How much volume? Are they delivering day before? Are they picking up day before? Right? Make sure all those things you know about them. Make sure what sort of situations they need that you are in compliance with, right? You don't want to get in set up in a situation where you start taking orders and then all of a sudden your delivery service says, hey, I can't handle that volume that day. I only have set amount of drivers, right? Make sure you've got everything lined up and you're communicating this right now with your delivery drivers, making sure that they know what your anticipated volumes are. If you're a new shop owner, you've just taken over a shop, look at your numbers from last year, do some math, look at those numbers, see how many deliveries you had versus walk in and pick up. It's a great way to sort of know kind of in advance where you're going to be at, and make sure you communicate that with your drivers, right? If you think that you want to be able to offer free delivery to some cash and carry clients that maybe come in before noon, you know, if you come in and grab your bouquet, we'll deliver it for free in town before 5 o'clock, but we need to have the order before noon. Maybe that's something that you want to offer just to kind of create a nice little perk for your clients. Make sure you've got a local driver lined up for that instance, right? Make sure you've communicated to them on the urgency and the efficiency and what has to happen. One of the biggest letdowns, I think, with Valentine's clients on those days is, especially during weekdays or whatnot, is the timing of your deliveries. So oftentimes we'll take a delivery and maybe the sales associate didn't communicate when that delivery is anticipated or expected to be delivered. And let's face it, Valentine's is one of those holidays where it's kind of like sometimes, I want to give a bouquet to someone that, I'm dating or whatever, and I want it to be impressive or whatever. Make sure that they know when it's going to get there or an anticipated window, and communicate to them what's going to happen after. Okay. Because sometimes you don't want to leave some fellas where they've ordered this delivery and they're sitting there, by their phone waiting for that text message going, why haven't they texted me? They should have got that delivery hours ago. Right. Make sure you're setting yourself up for success there. I often say, set yourself up to over deliver, right? Set those right? We want to set ourselves up so that so we're blowing people's minds with their expectations, right? So oftentimes, this is a fun one to do is, what? We're going to get that delivery out before 5 o'clock. And then make sure your delivery team gets it there before 3 o'clock, right? Because then it gets there before 3 o'clock and the guy's like, wow, it was 2 hours before I was expecting it, right? We want to exceed expectations. We don't want to fall below. Make sure that's clearly communicated, and don't take on too many things, right? We don't want to take, if the most troubles that we run into with those issues is when we take on too much, right? And we can't keep up with the volumes. So that is where your last year's numbers, what you have in line, and all of the volume and flowers that you're bringing in, you should be able to calculate exactly how many bouquets that you can serve, how many deliveries you can serve, how you're going to execute that. Make sure you have that all in line and that's communicated to your client. One step further with that customer service, what you can do is you can photograph the arrangement or delivery as it's being delivered, or you can real time it for that client. Take cell numbers, text them when that we just passed off the delivery. Thank you for your order. Here's a photo. In Ontario, Canada, and in a lot of Canada, at Valentine's Day, we are going to have issues with cold weather and delivery. So those types of things can be an issue for Valentine's Day. So make sure you're communicating that with your client as well. If they're looking to surprise someone with this delivery, make sure that their person that they're sending this to is going to be there to receive it, or have a backup plan. Okay, have a backup plan. Ask for that backup plan, right? Make sure your sales associates are asking, if person isn't home, what should we do with this delivery? Do you want us to leave it with a neighbor? Do you have an area that we can leave it where it's warm? Because let's not dance around the fact that it could be -10 or -20 at Valentine's Day. We can't leave these flowers outside. They are too perishable. So make sure your delivery team is set up. But that constant communication with your client, opening up all those questions, making sure that you've got solutions or anticipating issues and having solutions ahead of time, is such a great effective way to make sure that client is right, like in line with everything that you want to deliver, and they're like so excited about the way that you serve them. So make sure you've got all those things in line. Other things that we want to look at. So we talked about sort of the staff transitioning those roles, long hours, overtime, right? What's happening on Valentine's Day? Is there a possibility that you can bring in shift work so that people aren't feeling overwhelmed or drained, right? So oftentimes what we would do in our shop is we would bring in additional staff on the day of. Sometimes I would bring them in a little bit later. So I've got morning staff coming in, and then I've got afternoon staff coming in, and then I've got another circle of staff coming in the evening. Decide if you're going to be open late. Another way. How do we do that? Look at last year's timing. Look at their numbers, right? Some shops will open till 9. Some shops will open till 7. We typically stayed open till, I believe it was about 7 p.m. Usually by then, I think everyone's kind of wrapped it in for the night, but that's what our findings were. If you're in a busy city center, you may want to be open till 9, right? Depending on where your location is, depending on what's nearby. and look at your numbers from last year and see if you can see when the sales started to peter off. And all of those little aspects that you want to look at to sort of decide what your hours are going to be, and then see if you can break up some part-time staff coming in to sort of alleviate those peak times, those delivery times. Make sure your staff are taking regular breaks. A lot of times at Valentine's, we forget to sit down and go, oh my gosh, I need to take a beat here, right? Because there's those things. But you will notice, I think typically with my historical experience in the holiday, is there's a lot of activity coming in first thing in the morning. You are first thing in the morning, oftentimes, and we'd even get this, we had day before pickups with our logistics team. So all of those orders that you've got, pre-orders, everything. I can't stress this enough. Make sure you get your pre-booked orders done before the start of Valentine's Day. This is probably my number one tip. So many times what I have witnessed with a Valentine's Day is shops that will continue to design orders that have been placed days ahead of time on Valentine's Day. What are you doing? Get them done ahead of time. A lot of times people worry about, is it going to be fresh? Is it going to be, and you know what? Those roses are coming in from your suppliers probably days before you're getting them. So if they're in your supplier's fridge or in your fridge in water, what's the difference? If you want to get ahead of the game and set up for success, make sure you're tackling all of your pre-booked work and getting it designed 1 or 2 days before Valentine's hits. At least you make sure that all of your deliveries are done and completed and all of your pickups are ready to go. When I learned that, it was a game changer, right? I was set up for success. You don't want to have a client walking in and saying, it's 11 a.m., I'm here for my pickup. I'm sorry, we don't have that ready yet, because we were answering the phone because the phone is going crazy, or all of our online orders are insane and we haven't been able to get to your pickup. No. Make sure that's done and ready. Those are the clients that took the time to pre-book, to give you money in advance, to come in and ensure that it was ready. Always, 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 if I can stress this once, I'll stress it a million times, have the order ready. And maybe because they pre-booked, you want to add something to it. Thanks for pre-ordering. Here's a free bag of chocolates or whatever. Or here's a free card. Thank you for pre-ordering. Here's a free, beautiful handmade card that we offer. This is because you pre-ordered. We really appreciate that. And thank you for coming in, right? Those types of things. Love your clients. Show them the love. Show them the love by having their order ready at the very least, right? That's all we can do. I have had so many situations over the years where you don't anticipate that volume of phone calls, those volumes of online orders that are going to come in on the morning of. So make sure all of your pre-booked work is done, completed, ready to go, wrapped, and it looks fantastic. And you've got it all set up with your staff so that it's ready. And they know how to handle those walk-in clients as well, right? So make sure about the breaks with the employees. The other thing, workflow and production. So we talked about talking with our lining up our product, ordering our product, looking at volume, looking at prices, looking at how much we're getting in, deciding what we're offering, building out those offerings, breaking down all of the things, recipes, efficiency, trimming your flowers, right? Bringing them in and processing them in advance. So oftentimes when we look at a week of Valentine's, we would often bring our roses in. If Valentine's is on the 14th, I would usually start to bring in most of my volume as product on the 11th, or even the 10th or 11th, right? Get it in, get it processed, get it cleaned, get it counted, right? Bunch your roses in dozens so you can see, right? I know I've got 40 dozen red sold. They're right there. This is my cash and carry group, and this is my cut flower group here, right? Know and organize your cooler so you know what's going on. Don't have it as a smorgasbord in there, and make sure your designers know where to pull from. If you've got an order that you're working on that's pre-ordered, you're pulling from this pile. If you've got an order, you've got a guy that just walked in the door and he's well in advance, he's coming in a few days before Valentine's, you're pulling from this area of the cooler. Make sure that that's well communicated to your designers, right? So that they know where to pull product from, what's available to use, right? Make sure those things are all well communicated. So you've got your staff coming in, you've maybe hired a couple of extra part-timers that are coming in to help you process all those flowers. So important, get them all ready to go. Don't be bringing in things last minute. If you do, make sure you've got staff for that, right? You don't want to be pulled away if you're a designer and a manager and an owner, founder, you're doing all the things, wearing all the hats, serving, dealing with the computer orders, dealing with the clients walking in the door. Make sure that you've got people allocated to handle those jobs that you can offload on those days, right? Sometimes we're getting deliveries or, hey, I've got all my online orders kind of going out the door early, or they were already spoken for. I'm going to add a little bit more volume and I'm going to be bringing in an order on the 13th. We need to get that cleaned and efficiently ready for the designers. So you might want to book in an early morning. You might want to have staff coming in at 7 a.m. and having those flowers ready and processed by 9 a.m. so that everybody's ready to go and they've got everything ready to use, right? Make sure that you're set up for success that way. There's nothing worse than having people come in, your designers are coming in at 10 o'clock and you've got product coming in the door from a supplier that has to be cleaned and processed and you're tripping over it trying to get to an area where they can efficiently design. No, 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 no. Get that done way ahead of time. I can't stress that enough. Quality control. Okay, so these extra staff that you have coming in or your processing team that you have coming in, make sure that they know what you expect for quality. Make sure that they are looking at what you've received and making sure they're making note of any issues or bad quality. Valentine's Day, we're paying premiums for everything. So make sure that you communicate to your suppliers that if you have an issue, make sure you let them know right away. That's very important. Don't leave that stuff to the sidelines. Don't leave it to the aftermath. You're probably not going to get a credit for something that you tell them about 3 days after Valentine's. So if something comes in and it doesn't look good, and let's be honest, Valentine's Day, all of the farms are cutting a huge amount of volume. There's going to be some bad eggs in the bunch, right? So make sure that if you are a recipient of one of those bunches that doesn't look great, or there's too much damage from the transport because there's so many high volumes, make sure you communicate that well and your credits are taken care of, because having that sit on the sidelines is not a good position for your bottom line. Make sure that you've got staff that's looking at, so packaging and that sort of thing. Make sure you've got that all lined up. Are your ribbons cut? Are the way you're wrapping, do you have everything of that set up in an efficient manner so that it's grab and go ready, right? If you want to set yourself up, this is a fun little game you can play too, is wrap a couple of your arrangements up the way that you want to do it for Valentine's Day and time yourself. See how long it takes to wrap, and then train yourself, staff, to say, this is the expectation of how long this takes to wrap. And so this is where we want to get to as far as a goal goes of how long this is going to take, right? Set up measurables for your staff, right? When a client comes in, if they're grabbing a grab and go and it's already wrapped, the POS system and everything, that should take a maximum of time, right? So that way we can get through this many clients in an hour. Make sure that you've got those metrics set up for your staff and that you communicate to them so that they know what the expected, transition time is, right? It shouldn't be taking half an hour to serve a client, right? It should be quicker turnover than that, or ideally a quicker turnover than that, right? Let's have a quick look here. I think we're almost ready to wrap this up, but yeah, so those daily meetings are probably one of the most important things when you're dealing with staff that you're bringing in for those, small windows of time to handle the extra volumes and things like that. So a really quick rundown of how our Valentines used to go. So Historically, the shops that I worked in where we had the most success was when we were set up and organized and everything was ready to go well in advance. I have worked in some shops in the city where we were doing the work on the day of, and it was a hot mess. Not good. Okay. So, number one thing is anticipate what you're going to sell, order your flowers accordingly. And then number two, make sure that your vendors, what they have that's extra, what you could offer that's extra, knowing what you could possibly get in case you oversell. Or not in case you oversell, but in case you sell out well in advance, knowing what you can bring in and anticipate in sales that way, right? Knowing what's available, right? You don't want to sell anything or say, we're sold out of red roses but I think I can get more. So, I'll keep it up on my website just in case. No, know what you can get. Know what you can get. Don't promise things you can't deliver. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, make sure you've got your staff coming in, making sure that they're set up for success, right? Knowing what you want to sell, knowing how you're going to sell it, how you're going to package it, how you want your customers communicated with, and what the expectation is for them, right? How long is their day going to be? What kinds of things are you going to offer? Are they going to have breaks? Are they going to have a time to eat? Are they going to be doing the same job when they come in that they've been doing, or are they going to be doing something different? And if they are, how is that transition going to work? And are they set up for success in those factors? Okay, make sure that that's well communicated with your staff, and have meetings right now with your staff. What are their concerns? What are their worries? What things have they seen when the shop gets busy that they're worried about, that you can help navigate through and set up so that you can anticipate some of the situations that may cause some stress, right? Communicate with them. Ask them, what's your biggest concern for this Valentine's holiday? If you've never worked a Valentine's with the shop before, what are your biggest things that you're worried about that we're not going to be able to handle, right? Make sure your delivery team is all set up. Make sure your staff is communicating with them. Make sure that everything is all aligned in that realm, right? Make sure that everybody's on the same page. Don't over deliver, or don't under deliver and promise things to them. Don't say, I'm going to have all of my orders ready for pickup the day before, and then not have them ready and ask them to come back the next morning because you weren't ready. Make sure you're ready. Make sure you follow through on your word, right? All across. That works out so great for all of the things. Also, when you have your customers coming in, how can we give them an experience like no other? How, make it fun, make it musical, make it lively, make it interactive, right? Maybe you've got sayings up on the wall or love quotes up on the wall that they could use for fun cards. Like I said, downloadable playlists that they could take home and use for a romantic evening. Put things around your customers that are waiting for service that are going to give them an exceptional experience. Have some fun with this, okay, guys? Because there's nothing worse than standing there waiting and being like, I'm already late. And this is like, I can see I'm going to be another half hour here. Set that customer up to be like, oh my gosh, that's such a great little saying there. I'm gonna do that. Oh, you've got free cards here. You've got a little writing desk I can sit at, or a writing table. I can sit down and write my card while I'm waiting for my order to get wrapped and processed. Oh my gosh, amazing, right? All those little things. Offer beverages to people waiting in line. My God, why not? If you have the means, right? All of those things, right? You're going to be waiting a minute. The other thing, cash and carry. This is another thing that you can do just really, really quickly. If a client is coming in and you need to take 10 or 15 minutes to get that order wrapped or processed or whatever, and you happen to be in a situation like we were located in a plaza, so there was other businesses there. We had a coffee shop there, we had a wine store there, if we had a drugstore there. If they're looking for some time, if they need time, if they're coming in, they ordered it, and you're like, you know what, I need 20 minutes to get this together for them. I've got to wrap it up. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Make sure you communicate to them. You know what, we're going to need 15 minutes. Do you want to come back and pick this up? Right? Do you want to come back and pick this up? Offer those options to your clients always, right? Don't take don't make them, or don't assume that they've got all the time in the world to stand and wait for your service, right? Give them options, right? That's really important, because then they feel like they, oh, great, I can go and grab that bottle of wine really quickly and come back and pick up my order. I don't have to stand here and wait. Give them options. It's always a great way to sort of give exceptional customer service. So that's another great way. And then, like we said, that customer experience, you want to game it that day, right? What can you add to it? Google some options, Google some fun activities that you can put in there for your clients. Advertise that, right? If you've got fathers coming in with their daughters that are going to write little cards to mommy for Valentine's Day, maybe you have a little fun little area where they can have heart stickers and put on their cards set up in the store so that they can be, it's interactive for them, right? I don't know. Come up with kind of fun ideas to make the experience of dealing with you the best that they've ever had. That's all I'm saying, bottom line. Then follow up, right? How can we set ourselves up for success? Make sure that you are giving them an option of guarantees on your flowers, right? I know it's a scary thing to offer, but you know what? In this day and age, make sure your clients know how to cut and deal with those roses properly. What is that? Maybe it's a video you put together and there's a QR code that leads you to some handling tips on how to handle those roses. Maybe it's a 24-hour guarantee, right? If your roses give you issues, we need to know within 24 hours, and here's what you need to do if you have issues, right? Give them a path, right? So that they know how to best communicate that. Here's our hashtags on how to share your experience that you had with us, right? Maybe you want them to post pictures of your flowers on your social media, tag you or whatever, set them up for success. Put all those social media connections in front of them, in your packaging, in your shop, in your social media posts. Make sure that that's easily accessible. Here's a Google review click, right? Maybe you want to have an automated email that goes out to these clients after they've purchased from you. Can you give us a Google review? Can you give us a testimonial of how your experience was today? Would you be willing to? Make sure those are all set up for the aftermath of the holiday, right? So number one, making sure you're set up, all of your product is ready, ordered, all your things you're anticipating, everything that you need to do. Your recipes is another one. I meant to mention that earlier. Your recipes are there and aligned, right? You don't want to have designers guessing what they should be putting in arrangements. You should have formulas, you should have everything documented, and everything should be priced. Don't leave things void. That is the number one area that we run into costing issues, is when people are guessing costs. And at Valentine's Day, there should be no guessing, because things are more expensive and everyone should know what everything costs. And you should have boards. If you're doing designer's choice, or if that's one of the things that you offer, make sure that you have, our $150 arrangements. This is your labor, this is your container cost, or this is what you've got left for containers and flowers. Make sure that that's all outlined to your designers, and make sure, this is one of my preferences, make sure you have recipes and that the recipes are clearly indicated. So that is one way to be way more efficient, right? There should be no guessing at Valentine's Day. Have it organized, have it nailed down, locked down of what your brand wants to represent, and have it really well communicated to your designers, your staff, your clients. Everything should be well communicated. I guess the bottom of the line today's discussion is communication is the key, right? When we communicate everything that we want to offer our clients as far as customer service, speed, efficiency, delivery, what's available, all the things. When we communicate that well right across the board to our staff, our clients, and beyond, our delivery team, everybody's going to go out of this with a smile. So hopefully that gives you guys lots of ideas. I know this was a quick, fast little meeting, but thank you so much for joining today, and we will see you next time on our Q&A chats. Take care, everybody.